Today I effed up by causing a date to have an allergy attack. Well, if there ever was a case for bad timing, bad luck, and bad hookup, this would be it. I, a 25-year-old male, met a woman who was a 24-year-old female on Tinder, and after some time talking, invited her over to my place for some dinner and to play some games of Mario Kart. We added a twist where for each race the other person loses, they must remove one article of clothing. That's fun. What ended up ensuing was multiple competitive rounds. But in the end, I won. From there, things escalated very quickly. Here's where the F up comes in. In the middle of things, she starts to say her lips are getting itchy. And while this is happening, I can see her general body and many parts are starting to turn red. She stops and she asks me if the dinner we had any sort of seafood in it. That's a scary moment. And that she is severely allergic to fish. It was not in the dinner, but in all of that, I remember I had salmon for lunch and I kissed her in many of the spots on her body. I tell her what happened, after which she immediately gets dressed back up, grabs her bag, and immediately runs to her car, speeds off, presumably to go to the hospital. I tried calling and texting her, but got no response to both. More than anything, I wanted to make sure she was okay, and if it was a bad allergy attack to the point of anaphylaxis, I was willing to go with her and drive her to the hospital, considering the whole situation was my fault. After 3 days, that is a scary, not hearing from somebody for 3 days. Okay, so after 3 days, she texts me a short paragraph basically saying I'm a sweet guy, but she wasn't feeling the spark. I feel horrible about this, and I feel like I'm causing the allergy attack, probably contributed to her decision. Yeah, that's a moment where somebody decided it was too embarrassing to keep it going, and the embarrassment outweighed the interest in the other person. So they're like, nope, yeah, I'm not feeling this, or I was feeling this too much physically. I had to go to the hospital. So long, and thanks for all the fish. Yeah, so that whatever you eat, maybe on your body or on your lips, far longer than you anticipate. Today I effed up by getting scammed out of $1,200. Not a ton to say, to be honest. I, a 18-year-old female, thought I was getting off with some girl I had been talking to, and I was actually getting recorded by a scammer, aka I thought I was having some online fun with some girl I had been talking to, and I was actually getting recorded by a scammer. Spent the majority of my morning off on call with some random dude from the Philippines getting me to download random cash apps, buying MFing Bitcoin, and sending them $1,200 in total in order for them to not send videos of me taking care of my business to old coworkers, family members, and friends. I'm just so damn dejected and upset and lonely. I just broke up with my partner and I still miss them a ton. I just assumed I could have some personal fun time and be totally fine. Now I have to deal with saving up more money to move out and do what I have to do. Well, one, I don't think they sent recordings. So somebody in the chat was saying, why would they send recordings to somebody? I don't think they sent recordings. I'm sure they were probably like on a video chat or something, and then it got recorded. And there's always two sets of advice for this. One, don't record yourself in the first place. But obviously, in a situation like this, it already happened. But advice number two, even if it happens, don't pay them. If you do pay them, then they know they can keep coming after you for the money. Like, you will forever be blackmailed. Otherwise, the worst thing that can happen is they might send it to your family if they happen to know your family and coworkers and stuff. Most of the time, you just don't reply to them. Just say, don't know what you're talking about, or go F yourself or something. Try not to antagonize them. But generally, the worst thing you could do in a situation where you know you've been recorded is to pay them. They will always come to you for that money. Like, you are forever never-ending bank as far as they're concerned, because they have this video that you don't want being shared. And as somebody said in chat, I don't know why you would do that on video chat in general, but some people, they just get lonely. It happens. Mistakes happen. That is definitely a today I effed up. Today I effed up by ignoring all the red flags. A few years ago, I agreed to meet up an OfferUp seller to buy a bicycle for $200. There were multiple red flags that I consciously acknowledged but chose to ignore. The seller already had the bicycle posted for a decent price, but I figured, why not shoot for an offer and try to get a better deal? Worst they could do is say no. or so I thought. The seller agreed to the offer and we scheduled to meet a few hours later that day. The city of the meetup location was the first red flag. Definitely not the safest city, and I would see a reason why, but I proceeded to head over to the park for the meet. As soon as I get off the freeway, I notice this area does not look like the best part of this already unsafe city. This is not going well, and I am worried for this poster's safety. I pull up to the park and see multiple families and think this shouldn't be too bad. There's several people around, so I message the seller and he tells me to meet him near the bathrooms at the back end of the parking lot. Okay, on my way. Another massive red flag. I move my car to the designated, much more secluded meeting area where I see 3 guys, probably in their mid to late teens, with the bike I'm there to buy. Ooh, I want it. I attempt to greet the 3 fine young gentlemen holding onto my soon-to-be ride, but there was no response. So I ask if I could check out the bike, to which one of them actually speaks and says yes. After a quick look over, I tell the non-mute young buck that I'll take the bike and give them the cash. Instead of letting go of the bike and handing it over to me, the one holding the bike says he'll help me load it into my car. Sure, I'm right over here. This is, I'm just like anticipating about this just turning terrible. As we start walking the 15 feet to my car, the 3 youngsters turn in the wrong direction. I try to say, hey, my car's right here, but they keep walking. Hey, where y'all going? The response was definitely not what I had anticipated. But looking back, I know I put myself in the situation. One of these bad boys turned around and lifts his shirt just enough to reveal the handle of a handgun in his waistband. Definitely not worth it, and I was not going to F around and find out, rather, if it was actually real or not. I immediately stop and watch as they duck through a hole in the chain link fence and down into the wash with my bike and my $200. I call my girlfriend, fuming, and tell her what happened. She asked if I had called the cops. That's probably a good idea. Given the unsavory nature of this city and the mention of a gun, or maybe it was a slow day, the police showed up within 10 minutes, and I see/hear helicopters overhead. I tell them my story, and they say that criminals in this area prey on folks from out of town, although I graduated college in the same city, so I was familiar. The officer gives me a police report number and tells me a detective will be in contact. Never heard anything after that day. Not a huge surprise. If it's something as small as that, you're never going to hear back about it. The officer also suggested meeting at a bank where there are cameras or at the police station. They have designated rooms to conduct that type of business. Also, preferably do not go alone. There are so many designated places to handle these kind of things that like you should always look for them. There were so many red flags. But doing it in front of a police station is actually a great idea because 1, you know you're not getting like stolen goods. 2, there's obviously going to be tons of camera and tons of protection, hopefully, unless the police just absolutely don't care.